Welcome to Implement This with Microsoft Business Solutions MVP Britta Rexted and co-host Matthew C. Anderson, where we have an insider's discussion around the things we consider when implementing Dynamics 365. In today's episode, sponsored by Analogic, Britta and I take a trip down memory lane talking about old versions of Dynamics and upgrading the platform. Analogic is a leading Microsoft Gold Dynamics CRM ISV, delivering best-in-class Dynamics 365 customer engagement solutions, as well as cost-effective and high-quality offshore Dynamics CRM programming services. Analogic's innovative solutions portfolio includes Maplytics, a premier map visualization, routing, and geoanalytics app for Dynamics 365 customer engagement, InnoLink, that offers a seamless integration between QuickBooks and Dynamics 365 customer engagement, and other productivity apps like User Adoption Monitor, Click to Clone, and Click to Export. Well, here we are back with another episode of Implement This. Hi, Britta.
Hi, Matt.
How are you?
Good, really good. I had a really fun day today.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Okay, tell me about it.
It was kind of a blast from the past. I got to spend the day working on a project in CRM 2011.
Okay.
Which I have not done in years. I was thinking
Version
about it.
5.
I think I have. I think it's been more than 3 years since I've touched anything in 2011, and it's really nostalgic for me because I grew up on 2011. I mean, that was my first 2 implementations, and it was really nostalgic. But it was also really humbling because I couldn't find anything. Like security, I'm so used to being in a different place now. I mean, there's so many things. It wasn't just the change from the left nav up to the top. I mean, it really is. Things are organized differently.
I remember a blog post I wrote back, I think it was 2013, which was a public service announcement around how to find users.
Oh,
Because it moved to the security section.
Yeah,
exactly.
I felt like such an idiot. I thought, I learned CRM on this. How do I not know where security roles are? But it was really fun. It kind of reminded me of when I went back and I visited my preschool. They went to when I was 6.
Okay.
And it was so weird. But the ceiling was always this low. I mean, it was really funny. What was really interesting is I was customizing a form today, and I was just in awe of all we can do now. It didn't occur to me until I was clicking on like the formatting tab and other things on a field, and there's like almost nothing there. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
And so I was reminded that good things come to those who upgrade. It's something I really want to talk about because as an admin, it was something I was really passionate about and we had so much success from. But you have to be really intentional to be capable of upgrading often. When I was an admin, we were on-prem and we upgraded every time within 90 days of a major release. Oh, wow. Which is obscenely fast for on-prem.
Yes.
But we had no code. We had a hard line in the sand. We would not code for anything.
Okay.
And so we did everything expecting to upgrade as soon as we possibly had it. And we were really rewarded for that. And so, and then all my upgrades were under 20 hours of labor to get the whole thing done end to end. They were really, really nice. So we they were afforded to just pay for the whole thing. We should have partner do it, and it was easy and seamless. Yeah. And I don't have any upgrade trauma stories. A lot of people do. I don't, because we were just really clean and stuck to the platform. Yeah. And so I'm curious what your experiences are with that, and what advice you'd have for people.
So I think I've been through a lot of upgrades where clients have a heavily customized system and they're getting ready to upgrade, and they've maybe been 2 or 3 versions of a laggard on going through their upgrade because they knew it was going to be painful and they've been told it was going to be painful. But here we are, and hey, Matt, we need your help in making sure that we do this well. And it's one of those things where just kind of thinking in that rearview mirror, the best practice or even position around upgrades has changed so much because there was a lot more flexibility that was given, or even that was reasonable feedback from both Microsoft as well as partner organizations around what is the right timing to upgrade. And there were a lot more justifiable reasons in the past to wait. Whereas, even over the last 5 years, I mean, with the pace of update from Microsoft changing as much as it has, where the desire to be on the latest and greatest version really drives people to want to do that more, and having the justification being there.
Yeah.
And that's one where, when you think of how long we used to go between getting an updated version, in the past, gosh, it was every couple, 3 years we'd see a new major release of Dynamics. CRM 2011 is version 5. And, here we are at version 9, and it's only, 6 years after that. I mean, those are major release versions.
Oh,
when you consider getting from 1 to 5 was a pretty slow prospect. And there were much bigger lags and not nearly the number of minor updates that came between them. So this feels like a trip down memory road. I'm kind of looking forward to it. So tell me more about the experience that you had kind of going around and what it
Well, there were some things that I didn't realize I missed. It was a little nostalgic. Remember when you had subgrids, and if you clicked on the subgrid, the top ribbon changed to be all about that related record? I really missed that. I didn't realize I missed it, and now I do. Now I'm a little bit sad.
Come on, you have your 7 items and your ellipses at the end.
My clean little ribbon, and everything is behind the 3 dots. Everything I care about is always behind the 3 dots.
Yeah, though, I mean, truly from a page load perspective, caching perspective.
Oh yeah,
the change is so well worth it.
It's cleaner. It is better, and honestly, it was a draw because I really wanted to give the customer that handy little plus sign.
Yeah.
That's really, really nice how you can add those either relationships or records right there in your subgrid. I really like that now, and I like the pop-out. There's that little pop-out to grid button. I really like that. So it was a mixed emotion. Yeah. But I clicked it and thinking I was going to be disappointed I didn't have the plus sign. I went, oh, that's right. I liked that. And so I also, it's a small thing, but I love Excel and the import wizard. And something I forgot is that the required fields used to be bolded in the export templates.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was really nice because I'm not as familiar with this data set. I'm pretty new to the project. And so it was incredibly fast to get sample data into the test environment today because I knew exactly what field I had to hit. It was just great visual cueing. Little thing.
Oh, that's totally fair. I wonder why that was dropped out.
Yeah, I wonder. I don't know. I really liked it. And so, but then something that brought me back to not being too nostalgic or wanting to go back in time too much was the fact that I was always looking for the advanced find icon because it's not just in the same place. That's huge. I'd forgotten. I had once celebrated how great it is to have the advanced find always in the same spot on every single screen, and was reminded of my appreciation of that today. So it was really fun. It was very, it had all the feels. It was just it's a very emotional experience customizing a form today. But was so limiting too. I mean, gosh, we really had to use JavaScript for just about everything back then. Yeah. It was really the littlest things that I would never consider to need code now. It's like, really? Oh, that's right. I mean, it just, it was so powerful for its time, and we did great things with it. But then it's amazing when you look at it just 6 years later, what you can do now.
When considering, I mean, from 4.0 to 5, 2011, it was a pretty painful update. That was a very major change. I mean, the way things like code were included on an entity form were structured differently, and even differently from what they were in 3.0. The number of things that were deprecated in the SDK from version to version were pretty massive, and those things that you were doing that you had to count on code for, that now we can use things like business rules for, or other mechanisms within the platform without having to kind of dive into code to do that. Back then, all those things were potential for breaking.
Yeah.
So I still have several clients that I interact with who are on rather old versions of Dynamics. I mean, all of them are at least 2011. 2011 is the oldest I'm currently working with. But some of the things that are design decisions that were made in 2011 that made perfect sense don't necessarily make sense when you're looking at that upgrade to 365 today. When you make that jump from where they were at to what the capabilities are now, there's a lot more that goes into it than purely the technical upgrade. I think of your story at the top of the episode around being able to upgrade within 20 hours of 20 hours of work effort going into that upgrade, and the commitment to not using code and that kind of thing. And if you were to try to even go from even in a codeless implementation of 2011 and upgrade that to Dynamics 365 today, there are so many kind of high-level design and architecture situations that you may want to reconsider in the latest version of the platform, where at the time it was the right decision for how you were going to build that out.
And if you did one upgrade at a time, that was not as painful. But even if you had a really good, fairly clean implementation of 2011, the pain and suffering you go through jumping that many versions now, it's worth mentioning. I had someone once tell me they had been really rewarded as a company in the past for waiting it out and seeing what would happen in the technology world, and kind of letting everybody else run through and get hurt first. And I don't think that applies to upgrades, because you don't end up saving any money. You have to upgrade. You can't jump from one version to a significantly higher version. You have to upgrade through every single path.
Linearly.
Yeah, it's got to be linear. Now, it doesn't have to be linear for your users, but I'm seeing now in our local CRM UG chapter, there are a lot of people who are just re-architecting on 365 and moving their data. They're not even going to upgrade, because it is easier to just say, nope, that's a calculated field now, than to look through all the code and figure everything out. So they're starting fresh. And even in that case, I think they're saving some money over upgrade scenarios.
Yeah, well, and that's a common approach that I'm seeing as well in conversation with other people as well as clients I'm talking to, where the steps it would take to go through, from version 5 to 6 to 7 to 8, and there are some intermediate steps in there that you're required to take from an upgrade perspective. And then are you going from on-prem to online, or especially I should say if you're going from on-prem to online, you're going to have to move that data physically at some point. You can't just do a straightforward database upgrade the way as if you're staying on-prem. So if you have to move it at some point anyway, why go through all of the kind of headache and potential for disaster that comes with a database upgrade if you're going to have to move it anyway? Just set up the new system, move in all the data that you care about, cut out a bunch of the junk that you've maybe been carrying forward or has been a necessary evil in the past, and move on.
Yeah. I think one thing I want to protect against here is an understanding of what customizations make for expensive upgrades and which ones don't. And so to be clear, on my really, really easy upgrades that we always did really, really fast, I ended up seeing a number of workflows. We wrote workflows just like crazy people. So we had a heavily, heavily customized Dynamics instance without any code. So it was all supported. It was all written the way that Microsoft tells us to. So the fact that we had an incredible number of workflows, every single form was unique. We had mostly unique entities. Everything was very custom to us, but it was what I'd consider small C customization. And I get nervous when I hear people talking about, well, we don't really want to write a lot of workflows because we want to be able to upgrade. It's like, no, that's not what people are talking about. Yeah. We're not saying don't relabel your fields because you won't be able to upgrade. That's not what we're talking about. We're saying don't go run and write plugins that you don't have to write.
And I think, so, the timing of when we're recording this episode, the general availability of Dynamics 365, are we calling it July update, October update, whatever, 9.0, and the rather kind of intimidating list of deprecated features
Yeah.
And one line item on that list of deprecated features is all of the page.xrm APIs, which to the non-technical people in the audience means a lot of the client-side scripting that uses JavaScript that was fully supported over time is going to have to get upgraded. I mean, it's a deprecated feature in the latest and greatest version. Mm-hmm. And that's just one line item of the deprecated features that are out there. And, that's not to say that you need to get worried if you're using client-side scripting. You have plenty of time to be able to make those updates. Like, that's not what, my intent is in bringing that up. But consider if you've been doing that going back, what's that, 4 major released versions of the platform, that's one of many different APIs that have been changed, tweaked, updated. I mean, the 4.0 to 2011 update was a particularly rough one for a lot of people. But, any time where you have that kind of ubiquitous of a change, that's going to cause some pain. Mm-hmm. So sticking more to configuration, sticking more to workflows, using out-of-the-box workflow capabilities, not mm-hmm. custom workflow activities, not mm-hmm. something that you're bringing in from, say, AppSource or, things that you find in examples online that are downloadable solutions. If you are cavalier enough to just put those into your implementation, I mean, mm-hmm. Those are the types of things that cause concern when I'm looking at, what is it going to take to do that upgrade?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And, again, not just purely a protectionary measure because I've been in the partner channel for a long time, but you can have really good, really well-written code that, because of changes to the API, is just going to have to be updated. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't invalidate why that decision was made at the time. Hopefully the right care and thought was put into what the go-forward maintenance of that code is going to be in the future. Mm-hmm. But, sometimes you do have to use code.
Yeah.
And there are great practices, and especially, hearing some of the other people on the CRM audio network, hearing George get, kind of up on a perch and talking about how some of that stuff should be done. Well, by one token, it can sound like, oh, George, you just sound like you're trying to, be mean to the non-developers of the world. The reality is there is a real place for that type of regimented practice in mm-hmm. how you're doing those things to be able to make this type of upgrade straightforward if you need to use code.
Mm-hmm. Yep, there's definitely a time and a place for it. I think how I ruled things out as an admin, and it's still something that I push back because I'm a functional consultant. I don't code at all. I think you can protect yourself in those scenarios in addition to really knowing the platform and know what's available now and understand how often that changes. Even just business rules have improved quite a bit since mm-hmm. they came out. There might be things that the last time you studied up on it you couldn't do, but you can do now.
Yeah.
So knowing that is a great protection. But then I think from a business requirements gathering standpoint, ask better questions. I think you can run into things all the time where they say, no, but it has to be blue. And you go, okay, from a process standpoint, why does it have to be blue? It's like, okay, no, it has to be a button. All right. Well, we can spend this amount of money and encumber ourselves forever on upgrades, or it can just be a button. It doesn't have to be blue. And so there's mm-hmm. times I had a debate with a user once because the list went left to right in her old system, and now in CRM it was going to be up and down, and that just wasn't acceptable. And I was like, it is, though. And she says, but you can fix it. I said, no, I'm not. That's not worth the code. It meets the business requirement. It's a slight preference, and we're not going to do it. And those kinds of decisions, I love Juliac. I've heard her say several times in presentations, her favorite tool to use on projects is the word no. Mm-hmm. And then the word why. Those are great tools, and they can really protect you. And then also clinging to the roadmap, I think, can really help if you know what's coming. Not only does that help you get the budget you need to do the upgrade, it helps you understand why you're doing what you're doing. When we finally broke down and almost wrote code, it was because we needed roll-up fields. And then literally a month later, we heard the announcement that we were going to get roll-up fields. And so we were at the front of the line to upgrade because we had to have those roll-up fields. But we waited, consequently, maybe 4 months to have a feature that we needed, but we didn't write code for it. Totally supportable, really easy, painless upgrade.
Yeah.
But if you're not clinging to the roadmap, you don't know what's coming, then you're gonna spend the money, write the code, and then fight that battle for a really long time.
Yeah. So I will say, just as a bit of a public service announcement, I am on board with the staying up to date and being current on your updates. But there is something, just as a course of having been around the Dynamics platform for a while, where giving it a little bit of time, maybe not being the person who I want to schedule it for day one.
Yeah, you don't want to be day
when
one.
It's coming out.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's kind of even going back into the 90s, there's a bit of a thing around Microsoft is, you never want to be part of the first version. You always want to wait for that next release. Update release 1 or service pack 1 or whatever that's going to be. And it's not that bad with the Dynamics platform. At least it isn't at this point. But there is some value in giving it a little bit of time. And part of why, I recommend that is, Microsoft will come up with little wiggly things that they didn't know about, that they come up with patches for and changes for in the weeks following the initial release. The other part around that is it gives the community a chance to be able to have those blog posts out there, those podcast episodes out there, the discussion around the good and the bad of some of these features as people start using them, that you can learn from and maybe not be that first person. And yes, there have been people who have been part of preview programs who have used it, but that's different from when it's out there in the wild. Because the people who are involved in preview programs have somebody who's helping them, whether that's someone from a partner organization that's paying a lot of attention and raising the flag up the flagpole with Microsoft, or whoever that kind of handler is in facilitating that. You just have a lot more eyeballs on it once that general availability upgrade is out there. So I do encourage and promote with the clients that I speak with, not being the very first.
Yeah, and that was why it was 90 days, not 2 days.
Yep.
Which was I am a pretty excitable person, so by day 60, I'd start bugging my partner. Hey, is it time yet? No, Britta. Okay, talk to you tomorrow. I was very excited. Something that I think a lot of people probably don't know about is that Microsoft wants to include you in their own testing. They do extensive testing. I got to talk with the team last year that runs those tests, and it's astounding the volume of testing they run on new releases, which I think is why they've gotten so good, is just because their testing scenarios are so great. But one thing that's made it so great is they are now taking customer scenarios and they're actually running the newest, latest, greatest against those scenarios and using that for their testing. And you have the opportunity to participate with Microsoft in that.
Yep.
And so that's something I think a lot of customers don't know about, is that if you want to participate with Microsoft and say, here's my solution, please make sure it's not going to break. Now, they're not going to go and make sure that your integration to your fax machine doesn't break and all the other things. I mean, it's not replacing you doing your own testing, but it's an incredible opportunity to say, hey, we use this product. It's really, really important that our scenarios, our supported scenarios, are going to continue to be supported. And bringing that real world scenario to Microsoft in the test makes it better, not only for you, because what's not going to break and you've already been included, but then also improves the platform for everybody. So we'll put a link down. If you actually email us, we can get connected with that preview program at Microsoft. But really, really powerful thing I think a lot more people should do, because there's so much value to you being hooked up in that way.
Yeah, definitely. Shoot that email, feedback@implementthis.org, or you can send a note through the website on the implementthis.org website. Another thing that kind of makes me think of is it's as you start looking at Microsoft's visibility that they give into the previews that they're doing, they have both things that are in public preview that you can opt in through your administrative settings within your CRM instance, but they also have private previews that they publicize a lot more now. I mean, when you look at the roadmap.dynamics.com website, you can actually see what's in private preview right now and have a sense for what's coming, and if you're interested in those things that are just around the corner, start socializing and seeing if there might be a fit there for that before it's out. Whereas there was, at least in my experience, very little visibility to what was in preview unless you were on the inside under a non-disclosure agreement, not supposed to talk about it to anybody, which was, it made it tough to say, yeah, I even care to be part of a preview program or engage with Microsoft on this. So I think along with the rapid release cycle, the support of the rapid release cycle, as well as some visibility to the roadmap, it makes it much more appealing as to why you might want to participate in that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many opportunities there, and I think a lot of people miss out. There's so much more you can do to know what's coming and to be engaged with Microsoft and communicating about that. They just continue to open the doors for communication there. So if you don't know how to get hooked up with that, please shoot us an email. We'll get you to the right people. It's a great thing to be able to do.
Fantastic. Well, I think that's all I have for now. I appreciate the trip down memory lane.
Me too. It was fun. I'll see you next time.
All right. That sounds good.
You've been listening to Implement This with Britta Rexted and Matthew C. Anderson. Do you have a business problem you'd like us to discuss on the show? Reach us through our website, implementthis.org, where you can also subscribe to the podcast. We're on Twitter too. Britta is at MacGyverCRM, and I'm at MC Anderson. Thanks so much for listening.